संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So we are the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the last class we were studying the section which deals with the thought, the last thought at the time of our death. So whatever thought we have at the time of our death, that determines the course of our next birth. And that's why Bhagavan is saying that throughout your life, make the thought of God your habit constantly. Whether you are meditating or you are busy in your activities, a part of the mind should always be engaged in the thought of the divine. If it becomes habitual, then only it is possible to have the thought of the divine at the time of death. So as in the verses, in the 6th and the 7th verses, we saw that yang vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tang tame vaiti konteya sada tad bhava bhavita. That whatever object a man thinks at the final moment, when he leaves his body, then that alone does he attain. O son of Kunti, being ever absorbed in the thought thereof. So it is almost spontaneous. We cannot decide at the last moment what we are going to think, as many think. That why to think of God now? Let us enjoy the life. At the time of death, in our advanced age, then we will think of God. But here Bhagavan is clearly saying that what is your habitual thought, what you have thought throughout your life, the contemplation which has become your habit, that spontaneously will come at the time of the death. So that's why think of God always. In the 7th verse it was mentioned, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. So this, in the last class also we were indicating, this yudhyacha is very important. That mam anusmara doesn't mean that I leave my engagement with the world, renounce and just sit in a corner quietly thinking of God. Neither it is practical nor is it possible. However contemplative we may be, even a sharira yatra api, even in the 2nd chapter, in the 3rd chapter it was mentioned, even just for maintenance of our body, as Sri Ramakrishna is to indicate, to get bhiksha, the sadhu has to go for miles, travel for miles most probably. So much time it takes. That's even to maintain your body, you have to give some part of your mind, some part of your body for the activities of the world. So you cannot run away. So let me be the part of this life. Whatever responsibilities I have, I take care of them meticulously. Not somehow I just take care of them. But I make it a point that at any situation of life, the thought of the divine should be there, engaging a part of my mind. You may say, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. For a mother, you will find however busy she may be, a part of the mind is always thinking of her child. She may be in the office, she may be mad with her activities, but she can never forget about her child. It is always there. So what it speaks of, the thing which we love, for that meditation is spontaneous. So we have to develop love of God. How to develop? That also by practice. The thing which we do again and again, that becomes our obsession. All our obsessions have developed that way. So go on thinking of the Lord. At the beginning, it may be just by using my will. I am thinking of the Lord. I need not worry for that. Let me be just persevering. Let me be patient. In short time, I will find I have developed the Lord for God. Ei Harinam nite nite bhakti mukul food bechite. Go on taking the name of the Lord. Bhakti, which is just like a bud, mukul means bud, in your heart, that will bloom. And once it blooms, then the love of God will make you think of God spontaneously. And this spontaneous thought of God will decide your course of the destiny after your death. That's being mentioned in the 7th verse. This Mayyar Pita Mano Buddhi Mam Eva Eshyasi Asankshayam. The one who has taken refuge in me, who has surrendered his mind and his intellect to me. Know it for certain. Mano Buddhi Mayyar Pita Arpita. Mano Buddhi, mind, intellect, everything has been offered to me. He attains me, know it for certain. Mam Eva Eshyasi Asankshayam. And now today we will enter into the section that yes, at the last moment, the thought of the divine is something spontaneous for a person who has resorted to the thought of the divine throughout his life, in his contemplation as well as in his activities. Now from the 9th to the 13th verse, this will speak of that departing the body through yoga. By being fully aware at the time of death, we can leave the body with full awareness, with that our own conscious decision. We can leave the body. As in the last class we were indicating that we hear in our scripture of Ichhamrit, that some spiritually evolved soul have the capacity to die at his own will. It doesn't mean that at any time he wills, he just departs from his body. No. Actually what happens, even in the Yoga Sutra, there is mention of a term called Arishta. Arishta. What is that Arishta? That we all, if we are having a natural death, we become aware that the death is coming quite well beforehand. Maybe days together, maybe months, that death is something nearing. And that's the time where the one who has developed detachment, he doesn't cling to the life. He will think of a particular auspicious time and consciously, with some yogic practices, can leave the body willingly so that his soul can take recourse to a destiny which speaks of his spiritual attainment. So it can be done consciously, willfully, not at any time. Death has arrived. As we were giving a very crude example in the last class, that is all speaks of prana vayu. There are 5 prana vayus: prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Prana speaks of this breathing. Prana means of the prana there are 5 subcategories. One of the subcategories again prana. This subcategory prana means breath. Apana means all excretion. That all the toxins which are in the body has to be excreted, evacuated. So that is apana vayu. Vyana speaks of assimilation. This udana is the thing which we will be dealing today. Udana speaks the prana vayu, which helps the subtle body to depart from this body at the time of death. And the last is the samana. The samana speaks of this. One is assimilation, another is the metabolism. So this udana vayu has something similar like the apana vayu. That when we have nature's call, we will find to a certain extent it's a voluntary act. That I can decide when to go for my nature's call. But after some time, it becomes involuntary. So this udana vayu is also something like that. When a person is approaching death, that the prana vayu is going to eject out from my body, we become conscious of that. But as we have a tremendous attachment to the life, we can never do it voluntarily. We cling to it. Whenever we think, no, I have to leave. And we cling to it, and at last it becomes involuntary. We are almost, a pranava is forced out. The udana vayu is forced out from the body. Now for a yogi who has already developed detachment in his life and who has developed devotion for God, he can just do this, allow the apana vayu to come out of his body willfully once the arishta, that the indications of the death has set in. How that is done, that will be described from the 9th to the 13th verse. So let's go through those verses. The 9th verse, what it is saying? Kaving Puranam Anushashitaram Anor Aniyangsam Anusmaretya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat. So now I have to meditate on the Lord. So before that, the one on whom I am meditating, that supreme being is being described. Why it is described? It is very important. That sometimes we pray to the God thinking Him just like any other being, human being. That's why anywhere in all the spiritual tradition, they say, Ishte Manush Buddhi Korte nahi, that never think your Ishta as an ordinary human being. It is something spiritual. The person, even if on my Guru I have that tremendous attachment, I shouldn't take the Guru to be just a mortal being. He is the one through whom that eternal being is manifested. Unless I have the contemplation on the divine aspect, then it becomes just the meditation like any other worldly object. So that's why first, the Lord on whom I am meditating, His real nature I should be aware of. What is His real nature? Kaving Puranam Anushashitaram. Kaving. He is the Kavi. Generally in all our Indian languages, Kavi means the poet. And here the Lord has been spoken of as Kavi, Kaveen. Why is it called Kaveen? It's very interesting. Poem means what? To speak of some truth in the form of rhythm, isn't it? There is some rhymes, rhythms. So that's the Kavi, Kavita. Kavita is, it should be in rhymes, in the rhythm. Now see the God's creation. Here everything is in rhythm. He has set everything in laws. In our scriptures, they use 3 vachakas. Om, Rim, Ritam. Om speaks of the absolute reality that will be spoken of even in this section, in the last prose. Om is the absolute reality, the undifferentiated, non-dual absolute reality. It finds expression as Rim. In all the Shakti Upasakas, you will find this Rim is used as the Vija. This Vachaka Rim is used as the Vija mantra. What is this Rim? The Rim speaks of the Shakti. That the absolute reality finds manifestation as the energy. This universe is nothing but the manifestation of energy. Everything you see is a manifestation of Shakti. And that Shakti again is not chaotic. It finds expression as laws. So just see, sitting here on this earth, we can calculate exactly with how a rocket has to be projected so that it can go and do a soft landing on Mars. How is it possible? Because this gravitation law is universal. The way it can be applied here, the same way it can be applied on the surface of the Mars and the Moon. And that's why we can calculate. In the olden days, most probably when they were not aware of gravitation, what made them understand that the creation is very, very rhythmic? The 6 seasons come exactly in cycle. The night and the day comes exactly in cycle. So the temperature in the summer won't exceed certain limit. In the winter it won't go down under certain limit. So everywhere we find that even for a normal person who doesn't know gravitation, who doesn't speak or know of magnetism, these are the things which speaks of the cyclic order, of the rhythm. Not only that, in all the religions they speak of another rhythm, law. That it's not only the physical law, even the moral laws. In all the religions you will find there is a concept of commandments. These commandments we have to follow. Just like the gravitation, these commandments are also true. It's not man-made. They are absolute truth. It doesn't depend on our belief system. Just the way if I say that I don't believe in gravitation and I jump out of a 20-story building, I am not going to fly. It is there. It doesn't depend on my belief. So all the moral laws are also something which are laws. Laws cannot be broken. It doesn't depend on my belief. If I follow them, well and good, my life will take a definite course. If I don't follow them, my life will have some destructive effect. In the words when someone asks Sri Ramakrishna, is there something called absolute truth? This rhythm, this very nice, this word rhythm, you will find so similar to English word rhythm. They almost have the same derivative. The laws, the rhythm came from that word rhythm. Om, Rim, rhythm. The absolute reality finding expression as Shakti, and that Shakti again is not chaotic. It finds expression as laws. And that laws we cannot break. So when someone asks Sri Ramakrishna, because we find in the days of Sri Ramakrishna, already among the young ones, the idea was that the religion is something, a belief system. It's man-made. Whether we believe on them or not is my choice. All those moral laws, ethics, they may be outdated. So someone came and asked Ramakrishna that all those the things which we hear in the religion, are they true? Are they absolutely true? And Sri Ramakrishna's reply was wonderful. He never replied yes or no. He told, Lonka khele jhal lagbe. That was his reply. If you take chili, you are bound to feel hot. Very interesting. That what it has to do with the absolute truth. That chili is there, kept in a separate plate when you are having food. If you decide to have the chili, you cannot say, I will have the chili, I will enjoy its flavor, but I don't like that hot sensation. If you take the chili, you are bound to get that hot sensation. So what's the idea? The laws are laws. It cannot be broken. If I follow them, a particular result is bound to follow. If I don't, some other result is bound to follow. So this rhythm is something which has been spoken of as the absolute rhythm of the ultimate, of the divine. When that divine, the undifferentiated truth finds expression as this phenomenal existence, it finds expression as those laws. That's why he's called the Kavi. In many of Rabindranath's poems, we will find that's the idea. He's saying that he's addressing the Lord as the Kavi. That it is your rhythm which makes me, as an insignificant being, to write few lines in rhythm. But I am being inspired by your rhythm. That makes me to write all those lines. So many of these are the Bengali poems. I'm just like the Tumi Kamon Kore Gan Koro He Guni Ami Obak Hoy Shuni. So many, there is at least some hundreds of poems on those lines. What it speaks, what it speaks of, this truth finds expression as law, as rhythm. That's why he has been spoken of as Kavi. Why it is being stressed here? Because what I have done throughout my life is going to have its result almost unalterable. I can alter that. It is fixed, because that's the Kavi, the ultimate, the decider, the Lord. He has set the rhythm. No one can go beyond that rhythm. So that's why here that word Kavi has been used. Kaviing. Puranam. The word Purana is very interesting. Puranam. Puranam means, we generally think ancient. Not only ancient. Pura api navaiva. Very interesting. That though he is aging, but he is never old. He is just the same. Whenever we say old, we have an idea. And old means that's the decay has taken into the decay has set in. He is looking very dilapidated, decayed. No, he is just the same because there is no transformation. The Shada Vikara is something which doesn't apply to him. So he is something pura api navaiva. He is eternal without any transformation. Just he is as he is. We find even this Meister Eckhart in the Christian tradition, he speaks of that ultimate reality as the eternal present. Because whenever there is a question of time, from where the concept of time comes, there is a flow, there is a change, past, present, future. In the process of time, we find that things are changing. But if nothing changes, then the concept of time falls off. So that's why Meister Eckhart says that the ultimate reality is the eternal present. That's the idea of Puranam, that eternal present. Pura api navaiva. No transformation in him. He is as it is. He was, he will be, he is as it is. That is the meaning of the word Puranam. And then Anushashitaram. That as we were mentioning, the law Anushashitaram means he is the one who is that ultimate controller. That he has made the laws and that laws can never be broken. It has to, that we have to follow that law if we have to get particular result. As in the words of Swami Vivekananda, truth never pays homage to the society. Society has to pay homage to the truth or else die. The truth has to pay homage to the society. That sometimes we think that we will decide what the truth is. No. The truth never pays homage to the society. The society has to pay homage to the truth. You will find everywhere. We spoke in our scriptures of Pancha Yagya, Mri Yagya, Bhuta Yagya, that whatever we are taking from nature, we have to give back, return. Nowadays you will find that in the name of exploiting nature, where we have at last ended up. Global warming, climate change, everything. Why? We were not following the laws. Laws has been set in. If you are not following, its result is waiting for us. We have to learn from our blunders because we cannot change the law. We were in the name of our progress. We are exploiting the nature, which is actually something breaking the law. That yagya, Lord said that even in Gita, saha yagya praja srishta. When I created this universe, I created with the sense of yagya, with an idea of yagya. What is yagya means? That I offer something to the fire. Why I offer? The oblations which I offer to the fire. Fire is the God who takes my oblations to the other gods. It takes to the other gods. And as I offer the oblations, which oblations are taken to the gods, in return gods give us the resources in bounty. That Varuna Devata won't give too much rain, won't give rain, there won't be scarcity of rain, nor there will be too much rain. The exact amount of rain which I need, that will be given. So all these ideas were in Yagya. So these are very gross ideas. The subtle idea, what comes out of it? That the entire universe actually runs in the principle of interbeing, give and take. So wherever this cooperation is there, life is there. So wherever we don't have this idea of yagya, we are going to harm ourselves. That's what in the modern world you will see, that as we were not following this concept of yagya, this all the natural disasters which have become so intense now. Sometimes it is questioning our existence. This is why we have broken the laws. So he is the one who is the controller, Anushashitaram. No one can break his laws. In our attempt to break the laws, we will break ourselves, but we cannot break those laws. So that's what is meant by Anushashitaram. Then Anor Aniyamsam. He is subtler than the subtlest. What it means? Swami Vivekananda gives a very nice example. I see a weightlifter. He is lifting the weight. I think his muscle is very strong, isn't it? Swamiji is saying the thing which we don't notice. We can see the muscles, the flexing of the muscles we can see. But the thing which we cannot notice, that in his mind that instruction was there. I have to lift the weight. That instruction was carried through a nerve current. It is so subtle. If you cut that nerve, with all these muscles you cannot lift the weight. That subtle instruction coming from your brain through the nerve at last flexes the muscle. So what it speaks? The mind is subtler than the body. And beyond the mind is the consciousness, the ultimate reality. Because of our association with the self, the mind becomes active. If the self is not there, the mind cannot work. So the ultimate reality, the Lord, who is the consciousness of our being, he is subtler than the subtlest. Anur Aniyamsam. Sarvasya Dhataram. As he is, everything exists. He is the ultimate cause. From him, the entire creation has emanated. Without him, there is nothing. In the words of Sri Ramakrishna, you put 0 after 1, it becomes 10. You go on adding 0, the value goes on increasing. Remove the 1, everything is 0. So that's the idea of this Sarvasya Dhataram. He is the foundation of the entire existence. And then Achintya Rupam. Achintya Rupam means the one who can never be as such perceptualized with the senses, the way I can see something with my eyes, something with my ears, and then I can have a concept of it in my mind. Perception resulting in conceptualization. The self cannot be conceptualized. Why? Because after all, it is the ultimate subject. The ultimate subject can never be known. Very interesting. The subject can never be known. We can know the object, but the subject can never be known. When a small child, when Swami Vivekananda was in America, one day he was meditating, and his host, the small child of the host, he was curious, seeing this Swami Vivekananda. He was curious that what type of person he is. Seeing no one was near Swamiji, he simply came into his room and sat on his lap. So naturally Swamiji's eyes opened. His meditation broke and his eyes opened, saw this small child. And seeing Swamiji's eyes opened, immediately this child asked, is whether God is? Swamiji said, yes, God is. And then said, then why cannot I see him? Simple, as a small child, that was the question. If God is, why cannot I see him? And Swamiji with a smile asked him, can you see your eyes? That was his answer. The child, much later in his reminiscences, is writing this, that can you see your eyes? With eyes I can see everything, but can I see my own eyes? So the subject can never be known. How I become aware of my eyes? With my mind. What I see in my eyes, that again is processed with the mind. So the mind becomes the subject, I become the object. Now again, this is what is with this idea, this Drik Drishya Viveka starts. Very nice idea. Now what in my mind is going on, am I not aware of it? I am aware of it. Whatever thoughts are there in my mind. So what it speaks of, that whatever thoughts are there in my mind, that is also an object. The mind cannot be the ultimate subject, because what's going on in my mind, I know that. So someone else must be witnessing those thoughts. Who is the one who is witnessing the thoughts? I cannot know that. If I know that, then that also becomes again a object. And this will lead to a fallacy called infinite regress. You have to stop somewhere. So in philosophy, there is a fallacy. So the ultimate subject, the one who is the ultimate subject, can never be known. I can only know when it is illuminating something. To give a very simple example, how do we know that there is something called light? Can light be seen? We cannot see light. You say, no, here everything is light. No. When the sunlight is falling on some object, when light falls on some object, that object gets illumined, and that's how we get aware of light. Well, let's say what here I can see this light, everything is lighted, the sky is lighted. No. If you go to the moon, the sky is dark even when the sun is there on the sky, because there is no atmosphere. Here the light is falling on the atmosphere, the light is being dispersed by the atmosphere. They are getting illuminated. It is these air particles which are getting illumined. That's what I am saying. I cannot see the light itself. So in the moon, what will you see? The sun on the sky, and the moon's surface is lighted, but the sky is dark because there is no atmosphere. So light cannot be seen. When it falls on subject objects and that objects becomes illumined, then I am aware of light. Can I see gravitation? No. By seeing a falling object, I can be aware, I can know about gravitation. Can I see magnetism? No. By seeing an iron filing being pulled by some magnetic bar, I am aware of that magnet. So by seeing the effect, I know something called magnetism, gravitation, something called light. So similarly, the self, the ultimate subject, I can know about it from the fact that everything is illumined. Everything is known. So there must be a knower who knows everything. So that's why that ultimate knower, because of whom everything is known, is the ultimate reality which cannot be comprehended with the mind. Because mind itself is an object for that ultimate subject. So that's why it is called that achintya rupam. Its existence is something which can be, of which we are aware by seeing the universe. But I cannot point with a finger to him and just say he is that ultimate reality. Because the ultimate subject can never be known. So that's why he is achintya rupam, aditya varnam. This is the ultimate illuminator. Because of him, everything is known. So even Swamiji, when he was giving lecture, pointing to a chair, he said, even to know the chair, it has to be known through the self. The self is there illuminating the mind through the senses, then only can see the chair. Without the self, the chair is not visible. In our scriptures, they say the self is mahato mahiyan. They're very interesting. The ultimate self is greater than the greatest. We can understand it in this way. As a human being, when I'm looking at the planetary objects, the sun, the stars, I have an idea, they're immense, huge. Compared to them, I am so small. Just something like a small insect crawling on this earth. But we forget one thing. The sun doesn't know it exists. All the stars doesn't know they exist. The one within me is certifying that the self, being coming in association with the mind, and then it is looking at projecting out at the universe and is saying, oh, you are so big. It is because of my certificate that becomes big. When I say, sun, you give light, it is with my certificate, the sun is being illuminated. Sun itself doesn't know that. So that's why the one who is within me is mahato mahiyan, greater than the greatest. He is the illuminator. Sun is not the illuminator. The self is the illuminator. The sun, even by just giving light, it doesn't know it is giving light. When I say you illumine, then the sun becomes an illuminator. So I am the one who is the real knower. The one who is illuminating everything. So that's why it is called Aditya Varna. It is the ultimate illuminator, the knower. And Tamasa Parastat. It is something which is beyond ignorance. Ignorance cannot touch it. The ultimate reality transcends the ignorance. What it means? Just with a common example, let us try to understand that I know that when I see the mirage, that huge reservoir which I am seeing actually doesn't exist. Why I am seeing it? Because as a substratum, the desert is there. The desert is projecting that huge reservoir, that mirage which is appearing as a huge reservoir, the desert is projecting. Now the question is, that huge reservoir which I see, does it have the capacity even to drench a single sand particle? No. So the ultimate reality which is being projected as this universe, as such have no capacity to affect the substratum which is being projected as the universe, the ultimate reality. In the simple words of Sri Ramakrishna, the snake carries the bag of venom in its mouth, the sack, the venom sack in its mouth. The snake itself doesn't get affected by it, but the one whom he bites, to him this poison is reflected. So similarly, the ultimate reality, he is the one to whom belongs the Maya, the ignorance. But that ignorance doesn't affect him, just like the venom bag of the snake. But it affects the others. To the creation is being bound by that ignorance. So that's why it is called his tamasa parasta. He is beyond the ignorance. So after saying this, why? That in whatever form you may be worshipping the final divine, you have to always attribute this divine all these divine attributes. Otherwise you will be taking him just as an ordinary being. That won't help. So by relating to the divine aspect of your object of meditation, now in the next verse what they are saying, this prayana kale, now comes the practice. Prayana kale manasa achalena. Achalana means the unmoving mind, manasa achala. This with unwavering mind, what I have to do at the time of death? Bhaktya yukta yoga valena chaiva. With the power of yoga. Yoga means union. I have to unite myself through contemplation with the thought of the divine. So bhaktya yukta yoga valena chaiva. With the power of his contemplation, he has to get connected. The devotee has to get connected through devotion. Where he has to focus? Bhruvor madhye pranam avashya samyak. So he has to focus. It is not a mechanical focus. Here, it is called the Agya Chakra, Bhruvor madhye, between the eyebrows, in the forehead, between the eyebrows. Bhruvor madhye pranam avashya samyak. This Udana Vayu, at the time of death, the prana vayu which he is constantly trying to come out, that's Udana Vayu. That I have to bring it here, focus it here. Prabhor madhye pranam avishya samyak satang parang purusham upaite divyam. If he can do that, that will take him to the Brahmaloka, the highest abode in the phenomenal existence. So what actually is speaking of this, as we were saying just now, this covering, that when a spiritually advanced soul, at the time of death, he knows that death is approaching. And now he, instead of being forced to death, that most of us we are so much cling to life that even when the prana, this Udana Vayu, is trying to eject from our body, as we told, to certain extent it is voluntary. Within a certain range of time it is voluntary. I can decide, let it come out. But after some time it becomes involuntary. It will be forced out. So if I am detached, I have already advanced spiritually, then I can do it willfully, so that I can decide my course of action after my death. It can lead me to the higher realm. So what I do, I allow the prana vayu to come up to this Bhruvor Madhya. Why this Bhruvor Madhya? This is the Agya Chakra. You know, then when our consciousness rises, that's the Kundalini Jagrana. So this is the sixth plane. This is the plane of visualization. You will find all the chakras speaks of the evolution. The basic, the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, the Manipur, you will find even in our scriptures it is mentioned that these are the chakras which are associated with procreation, means all these our so-called the creaturely activities, procreation, having food. These are the basic things in evolution. Even a small bacteria, what it does? It is procreating, it is having food. When the life evolves, that's the first thing. So these basic primitive things are in the lower chakras. And then as the beings evolve, we are not sure whether a bacteria has emotion. No one will say bacteria has emotion. Yes, they respond to the reflex. They are having food, they run away from the toxin, they are procreating, reproducing. This we are all agree. But the emotions, it needs to be evolved to some higher form of life to have emotions. Yes, our pets have emotion. The cow has emotion. We shouldn't think that they don't have emotion. They have emotion. Those who have pets, they easily feel they have emotion. So this emotion is a higher center. The heart is the emotion. So as you are rising, you will find this heart is the center of emotion, which higher beings have. The lower beings are just engaged in procreation and having food. The higher the emotion comes in the higher forms of life. Still higher is the language. As a human, we have developed that. We can express our emotions through language. All our poetries, everything is that language. So that center of language is the throat. So this is rising. And then this is the Anahata Chakra, the Vishuddha Chakra, this Agya Chakra. Here, as a human being, not only language, our language helps us to visualize. A flower is not there. I have seen a red rose flower. I have seen. Others, animals also seen. I have a language. Now when the flower is not near me, I say there is a flower. In my mind, immediately I can visualize that, isn't it? This is a very, very specific human capacity. With the help of language, I can visualize something. In our entire spiritual life, what we are doing, that's what we are doing. Guru has given you a mantra. With the help of that mantra, I am visualizing something. This is something a very, very evolved human capacity. And that visualization, the center is Agya Chakra. Sri Ramakrishna gives a nice example that sometimes the visualization can become so vivid that you may feel as if I can touch it, I can become one with it. But there is like a lamp, very clean, that a glass cover is there. It is almost not visible. I think I can touch the flame. I go and I find that the glass of the wall is restricting me, is not allowing me. So what it speaks of? It speaks of duality. That I see that the object of my meditation in an extreme illumined form, but still there is a sense of duality, of you and me. That is my Lord, I am the one who is meditating on that. So Agya Chakra speaks of a vivid visualization, extreme focused meditation, but still a sense of duality is there. You have not merged with the Absolute. That is in the Sahasrara, the ultimate. When the ultimate chakra speaks of the unification with your. So here they're speaking of Agya Chakra, where you are having a very vivid visualization. So you're taking your pranavayu throughout your life, you have practiced meditation along with dhyana. So here it doesn't mean that pranavayu I'm just forcing some from here. So when you're trying to have that vivid visualization of the Lord while thinking of Him, naturally the focus will be here, bhruvor madhye, the pranam avishya samyak. In that state, when you leave the body, it takes you to that highest plane of this phenomenal existence that is called the Brahmaloka. The idea of Golaka, Kailash, everything is this actually speaks of this Brahmaloka. What's there? As I was contemplating in the last moment, And that contemplation was very intense. It takes me to a higher world where I can just enjoy the contemplation of the divine till my final dissolution, this krama mukti happens. It's a very, very high state, very high state. To understand it with the help of psychology, that even in our day-to-day life you will find that, see, when I'm taking food, the moment I'm satiated, it's over. I cannot continue with my food for as long as I want. But I have developed some passion for instrumental music. Most probably I have learned playing sitar. So when I was learning, it was of course not a very pleasant thing. I was constantly endeavoring. A lot of struggle was going on. But when my skills meet the challenge, then what happens? I enter, even in modern psychology they say, you enter into a state of flow. You can continue for hours. Why? That your focus has become so intense that all the distractions has fallen off. Not only the external distractions, even my bodily feelings in the form of hunger, thirst. Now these are all alarm, biological alarm. Hunger. A part of the mind is being drawn by that alarm. Please take food, please take food, please take rest. Now all these biological alarms also need a part of my mind. But when my mind is so focused in something which I am doing, that it cannot register that biological alarm also, then what happens? You become videha, like King Janaka. Videha. Though you are in the body, you are not aware of the body. It takes you into a state of flow. Now it can be prolonged. You can go for hours. So if this type of flow has become a habit for you, after the death, what again brings us down to this physical plane? What brings us down? All these biological alarms, our hunger, our thirst, our need to procreate, these are the things which we can never do without body, isn't it? Thinking can be done without the body. But if I am hungry, I have to have food, I need a body. If I have to procreate, I need a body. So these biological alarms, these are the things which again drags us down to the physical plane. But if I become habituated in meditation, I can remain in the thought of the divine with a vivid visualization for hours together. That has become a habitual state. The body is no more there to disturb me. The biological alarm system is no more registered at all. Then in that state, as that has become the habitual state, and that state now you are leaving the body. What happens? All the biological alarm systems have been deactivated. It's no more there. In your mind, with your mind in that contemplative state, that becomes a habitual state without the urge for this physical, all the physical needs. You remain in the subtle state of your mind, in the level of your contemplation for ages together. You can stay there. And when the creation is dissolved, we don't know it happens because anything is created will dissolve. When the end of the kalpa, this creation will be gone. So they say that those who are in that Brahmaloka at the time of the dissolution, they don't come back. They merge with the Absolute. For others, they still remain in the form of seed to come back again, to sprout again in the next kalpa, in the next evolution. So here, your gati is parama gati. Why? It is taking you to a state. From there is no comeback. You're contemplating on the divine to at last merge in that state when, in the process of gradual liberation, krama mukti. So that's the thing which has been indicated in this verse. So let us read the verse once more. What's the verse saying? Very interesting, nice verse. This prayana kale manasa achalena, with the unwavering mind at the time of death, bhaktya yukta yoga valena chaiva. With the yoga vala, whatever that's the practice of meditation, contemplation, to be unified. Yoga means to be unified with the divine. Throughout my life I have done that. So that's the force which now helps me to depart from this body by focusing bhruvor madhye. That speaks of intense visualization. It's a visualization when you are thinking of God with a visualization of the divine. But constantly being aware of all the divine attributes. Now I am departing. Prayana kali, this bhruvor madhye pranam avishya samyak Satam Param Purusham. That ultimate reality is in the form of this Param Purusha, where you are taking you to that high state of this realm, high realm, the Brahmaloka, which has been termed in all the dualistic religion as their abode. The Shiva Bhaktas say it as Kailasha, the Vaishnavas speak of it as Vaikuntha. These are all speaks of that Brahmaloka, nothing else. Sometimes we jokingly say that Brahmaloka is a huge city where there are very many suburbs. One suburb is Kailasha, another is Vaikuntha, maybe Ramakrishna Loka also another suburb. These all suburbs are there. So you are there, remaining there in the state of contemplation, enjoying that immense bliss till the final, liberation happens, when the entire kalpa is over and this phenomenon, this cycle of evolution is over. And the next evolution comes. So in that state, you are not coming back in the next kalpa. That leads to the ultimate unification with the divine. So that's been spoken of. That's what's been spoken of as the Purusham Upaiti Divyam, the final departing from this body. It takes you to that supreme abode from where there is no return. And the next verses also speak that now it has spoken of that visualization, but that visualization also has to continue with the this articulation. That articulation, that you are speaking something. What you are speaking something, not through your mouth, in your mind. You will find every thought has two components. When I am thinking of a person, when the mother is thinking of the child, the name of the child comes in his mind, and visualization also happens. So every thought has two components, Nama, Rupa. So this Agya Chakra speaks of the Rupa, vivid visualization. But the one plane lower, this is vocal, here after the Anahata, this Vishuddha Chakra. So that speaks of this repetition. That was the repetition? The repetition of the Omkara. So that has to continue along with the visualization. So that's being spoken of, this chanting of the Om. Whatever we will find in India, whenever anyone gets an Ishta mantra, it is always associated with the Omkara. You know why? It's very important. When we will find that any novice is initiated, generally they will give a long mantra, very long mantra. But it is associated with the Omkar. This Gayatri is such a long mantra. But you will find when we chant, we start with Om, we end with Om. Why? Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel in one place says a very nice thing. That Gayatri merges in Omkar. The Sandhya is a ritual. Those who do the Gayatri Japa, they will do some ritual first, Sandhya. So he says Sandhya merges in Gayatri, Gayatri merges in Om. What it speaks of? So understand very simply that when I start my meditation, I find to keep my mind focused in a thought is very difficult. Because the nature of the mind is to vacillate, constantly vacillating. So it's a question of broadband. It is a question of bandwidth. If instead of meditating on a very small Vija mantra, if I have a bit bigger mantra, the bandwidth is bigger. So I am allowing the mind to travel within that bandwidth. So at the very first instance, I am not taking the mind to a very intense thought. It allows, that's why we'll find in the Bhakti Shastra they speak of Lila Dhyanam. Okay, I cannot keep my mind in one thought. Krishna as a child did this, that. Keep your mind. Then what happens? There is a flow of thought. Or it's very difficult to keep the mind in one thought. It always flows. Okay, keep the mind in flow, but that all the flow should be related to the divine. That's why Lila Dhyanam. That Lila Dhyanam gradually leads to, when the mind gets more and more focused, then this bandwidth is reducing because we're becoming more and more focused. And then automatically, you don't have to force. Sri Ramakrishna says that someone was chanting, what? Nitai Amar Mata Hati. Nimai Amar Mata Hati. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was ecstatic, was dancing when the kirtan was going on. He was like a mad elephant. It was dancing like a mad elephant, so full of that divine effulgence. So this is the idea with which all were chanting Nimai Amar Mata Hati. And one of the this person who was chanting, he became so absorbed he couldn't repeat the entire line. He was just saying Mata Hati, Mata Hati. That Nimai Amar entire line he couldn't say, just Mata Hati. And then at last he just said Ha. That even Hati he couldn't say. Ha. And he went into deep absorption. So what speaks? That as our mind becomes intense, you will find the entire sentence, to repeat the entire sentence becomes difficult. I cannot keep my mind in the entire sentence. It is becoming small. At last, holding on to something, it merges. Now, Om is the most undifferentiated sound. It has been linked with the Ishta mantra, so that at the beginning, when it is very difficult to keep the mind only in Omkara, I will find it very difficult. Okay, the long mantra helps me. But when my mind becomes very, very more concentrated, to keep the mind in the entire Ishta mantra becomes difficult. At last, it will hold on to something, and that something is the Omkara. That's why Omkara is there in all the mantras. In all, whatever you are chanting, Om is there. So that when the mind becomes very focused, it has to hold on to something, but it cannot hold on to the entire thing. That's the minimum bandwidth on which it is holding, and that's also the sound which is the least undistorted sound. Why the least undistorted sound? You will find for all the alphabets, whatever you are chanting, whatever alphabets you speak of, one thing happens. Your tongue will be touching any part of the mouth. See, ka, kha, ga, gha. The middle of the tongue touches the palate. Cha, cha, ja, jha. Again, what is the front part of your tongue is touching the upper part of your teeth, this upper jaw. So these are the vargas. Very scientifically, these words have been categorized. So you will find the tongue is touching some part of the mind, and that's what happens. What happens? The most undistorted sound gets distorted that way, limited. What is the most undistorted sound? See, here the tongue is not touching any part of your mouth, isn't? Coming from your vocal cord. Ooh. Ooh is just the rolling of that is rolling. There also the tongue is not touching any part of your mind. And you end with ma. The lips are touching. The tongue is not touching any part of your mouth. So you will find the moment the tongue touches, the undistorted sound gets distorted. Om is such a pronunciation which is the least undistorted sound we can think of. And the scriptures, that's why has devised this Omkara as the most undistorted sound, which helps a very concentrated mind to hold on to that subtle thing required. So that meditation on the Omkara will be indicated in the next three mantras, the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th mantra. Today's almost the time. This Yadakshara, we will just read the mantra, the 11th. Yadakshara Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yat Yatayo Vitaraga Yadichanta Brahmacharyam Charanti Tatte Padam Sangrahena Pravakshe. So, Aksharam, the one who is beyond this Sharavikara. So even Akshara means two. Kshara means all the alphabets are called Kshara. One who is beyond that, the one who cannot be in any way limited with all these alphabets. So Akshara has been spoken of that, who is beyond all the limitations, who is the most undistorted. He is the Akshara. So he is beyond the Sharavikara. So that's ultimate reality, who is the Akshara. He is represented by Om, which will be spoken of in the 12th and the 13th verse. Veda Vido, the one who is versed in the Vedas. What it means? That one who is not only simply versed, that with the words has taken him to the realization. Either he is a Brahmavit or Paramparavit. What it means? The Veda has helped me to realize the Brahman, Brahmavit, or even if he has not realized, he knows the tradition, the Parampara, which is helping him, which will gradually taking him to the realization. So he's either a Paramparavit or a Brahmavit. It's not just the academic, for the sake of academic knowledge, he has studied the Vedas. It has led him to the practice, and the practice has taken him to the realization. So such a person has been termed as the Vedavid. Either he is a Brahmavit or he is a Paramparavit. Yatayo Vitaraga. This Yatayo, Yati means the one who has resorted to sannyasa. Sannyasa doesn't mean the physical sannyasa. The word sannyasa means samyak nyasa. Samyak Nyasa. Who has renounced totally in mind, in body. So this renunciation is something within. Samyak Nyasa. That from my mind all the attachment has fallen off. It may need not indicate something physical. With this, just that what sannyasi means here, with that we will just stop this discussion today. Again, we will take up in the next class. Just take a small child going to the child care center. Give this example again and again. That it doesn't mean something physical renunciation. For the first time the child is going to the child care center, it cries. It's a new place, new environment. It wants to be with his parents. That's his security zone. For the first time I am dropping. Naturally it cries. After a few days it has developed friends. And now you will find after 15-20 days or after 1 month, now that child has got well adjusted. Now when I go to take the child back, he cries. He doesn't want. He wants to stay with the children and play, continue with the play. So first he cries when I'm dropping. Second he cries, we find, when I'm going to take him back. And then after a few days the crying stops. No more crying. When I drop him and when I just go to bring him back, he is readily comes back. What has happened? That Nyasa, that renunciation has happened. What's that? He has now realized this childcare is a temporary place. My home is my permanent place. Every day morning father will drop me, evening he will take me back. This has registered in his mind. But does that mean that the child, realizing that this is a temporary place, throughout the day in the childcare center will be sitting in a corner? Oh, after all, this is a temporary place. Why should I keep myself busy in all the activities this is being going on here? Let me just sit in a corner and wait in the evening for my father to come and take me back. Does it happen? No. He's quite happy. He's playing. He's doing everything. But in the back of his mind, he knows that this is something where I'm not going to stay throughout the day. I'll go back. So real sannyasa means that. In the mind, the detachment has happened. Everything may go on. But the detachment, that this is not something, a permanent place. This is temporary. So this, my permanent abode is my spiritual abode. And thinking that one who is going through his life, that's the real meaning of that real sannyasa, the sannyasa. See, such a person is called yatayo. That's what the next term is. Who is yati? Who is sannyasi? He is a vitaraga. The attachment has fallen off. So vitaraga. And then such a person who is leading the life of brahmacharya. Again, brahmacharya means something negative. I have to restrict myself from all the so-called attachments of life. No. Brahme charati yah sa brahmachari. The one who is constantly residing in Brahman is a brahmachari. Then how the idea of renunciation has come then? That Sri Ramakrishna says, the more you go towards east, the west automatically falls behind. It's not that you're forcing. You cannot force the west out. You just have to go towards the east, the west falls behind. So the one who is constantly contributing on Brahman, naturally other things has fallen off naturally, spontaneously. It's not something a rigid force, negative some type of thing. That I have loved something greater, the smaller things has automatically fallen off. That such a person, they only can contemplate on that Omkara, which will be spoken of in the 12th verse, the next verse, 12th and the 13th verse, which again we will take up in the next class. And this section, which deals with the deliberate living of the body, not just whenever I want, when already the indication is there that I have to leave the body, that it has some voluntary aspect, and then it becomes involuntary. When that voluntary aspect is there, a period of time where I can decide myself that the indications of death has come within that period, not by taking any medicine or something, that nowadays the idea of that you can leave the voluntary body, that doctor gives some medicine, you take it and then you don't know, nothing like that. So willfully you allow the Udana Vayu to leave your body by contemplating on the divine. And that procedure so nicely has been spoken of in this verse, which we will again continue in the next class. With this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.